Hello and welcome to our webinar today. My name is John Enney and I'm the Vice President of Marketing here at MTS Software Solutions, and I appreciate you joining us, taking some time out of your busy schedules to hear about IntellaLease, especially our credit application acceleration module. A couple of housekeeping items. If you have questions during the webinar, feel free to submit them using the GoToWebinar tools. I don't know that we'll get to questions today. I'm going to try to keep this to about 30 minutes. We'll take some time to review what the solution is. We'll review a video of a demonstration, and if you do have questions, we'd be happy to follow up with you afterwards. So if you submit them using GoToWebinar tools, we'll have them on record. If not, you could always reach out to us, visit our website, or email us at sales@mts-software.net. So again, my name is John Enney. I'm the Vice President of Marketing here at MTS, and want to give you a quick look at the agenda for today's webinar. We'll give you a little bit of an introduction to MTS if you're not familiar with who we are and what we do as a company. We'll try to answer the question, why credit application acceleration? We'll talk about IntellaLease and show you some slides that discuss the functionality of how it works and how it can solve some of the business problems that you know you have or may not know you have. And then we'll take a look at the demo, and then following the demo, take a look at some of the other modules just briefly from a high-level overview of how those modules can address some of the other needs throughout your organization and give you the ability to view IntellaLease as a platform more than just one way to solve the problem of credit application entry. So MTS Software Solutions, we've been around for several decades now. The company started back in 1981 and have evolved over the years to fulfill the mission that you see up on the screen there today. So what we do is provide technology and services that simplify, streamline, and accelerate document and data-driven processes. And we do this in a number of industries, including the equipment finance industry. We have a similar application as IntellaLease for the mortgage industry called IntellaLend. We work with financial institutions, banks, credit unions, commercial organizations, solving problems like accounts payable or manual accounts payable processes. So we have accounts payable automation solutions. And you see there some of the core expertise that we use to apply in some of these solutions. And intelligent data capture, business process automation, enterprise content management are three core components of our expertise that we include in a solution like IntellaLease. You can also see that we're ELFA members, which demonstrates our commitment to the equipment finance industry. So why credit application acceleration? We believe three main reasons to consider credit application acceleration are rates, response time, and relationships. And we know how important these three R's are in the equipment finance industry. So how do we impact those things with our IntellaLease solution? Well, when it comes to rates, what we enable our customers to do is to lower the cost to process each application, spending less time, less resources on each application that comes through the door, and especially those that earn the business no revenue. So in the scenario on the right with the pie chart that you see, sample scenario, let's say you receive 100 apps per day and you approve 80% of them, deny 20% of them. Of those 80% that you approve, 60% are booked. And these numbers may look like your numbers, they may not, but bear with me for the sake of the exercise. Some of the information is based on ELFA statistics that we've pulled from some of the research. But you can see here that 48% of applications that come through the door are booked. So less than half of the applications that we're spending time, spending people's energy and resources on are not earning us any revenue. And so what we try to do is minimize the expense associated with those applications, yet also the ones that are earning you revenue, that are booking. And our hope is that over time, because of some of these other things such as improved response time and improved relationships, that you'll be able to raise that booked percentage and even your number of applications because folks are coming to you more. So let's talk about that. So response time, we're able to get decisions to vendors faster because we're taking a lot of the manual effort out of the process of reviewing applications as they come in. And as a result, we're improving relationships with your vendors or with your lessees by providing superior customer service. And this may allow you to grow program relationships, and basically what we want to help you do is to do more business and to do more with the same, or perhaps do more with even less, or less per application or transaction. So before we dive into what an automated process may look like, let's take a look at what a typical manual process would look like. And we have a slide that represents that. And if you are receiving applications and you don't have a tool like IntellaLease to automate some of the data extraction from the applications, then you may be printing up documents, using that to key data into your lease origination software system. And if not, maybe you're a little bit more advanced and you have your processors or analysts, they have two screens and they're using that stare and compare method that you see the credit analyst performing, straining their neck to do. And then maybe from there, the doc gets filed and you're physically moving folders around the office to booking, and maybe you're rescanning those documents and uploading them to a portfolio management system, or if you have an end-to-end solution, moving the documents physically and potentially electronically, and then rekeying data. And if any of this sounds familiar, we have our solution can help refine this entire process, streamline it, and expedite it, and take some of that manual effort out of the process. And so why would we want to do that? Well, manual data entry is costly, it's time intensive, and it's error prone. And the errors can lead to downstream impacts or just more cost, more time. And so that's one of the things that we really seek to address, removing the inefficiency of manual data entry. Another consideration is when volume surges, how does your company respond to those surges? How do you respond to the peaks in application volume? Do you end up pulling higher value personnel to perform the credit application entry into the system? Maybe it's a sales manager, maybe it's members of your sales team who are doing that work instead of looking for new business or creating stronger relationships. Maybe it's a VP of credit. So again, high value folks who have other job functions that are not data entry or staring and comparing or printing and scanning, end up kind of taking on some of those responsibilities just to meet the demands of volume increases, maybe at the end of the month. Again, we seek to address response time, and you may understand the frustrations of slow response time when it comes to customer service. And so if you're at an organization or if you're a vendor and you're calling up your equipment finance company of choice to say, hey, what's the status of my application, only to find out that you are missing information, what we can help do is automate the identification of that missing information by setting up business rules and having flags or notifications go off either internally or sent externally to those vendors to let them know that they're missing information, so that they're not waiting to hear that much further down the line because it's stuck on the desk or in a pile and it just hasn't been reached yet to know that there's missing information. And when you find out that you're missing information much longer after the fact that it was submitted or provided, it can be frustrating for customers or for vendors, and we seek to address that as well. And with that, you have to think about what kind of missed opportunities there may be because your competitors are getting back to your vendors sooner. We know how important that response time is because of the likelihood of a transaction getting booked may depend on the time it takes to get a decision back. And if you have a manual process, then you may not be the first one getting back. And if there are clients who face the shotgun apps where they're sending it to multiple finance companies, you want to be one of the first to get back. And if you can automate some of the process to do that, then you're one step ahead of your competitors with a competitive advantage. Another element of a competitive advantage is the level of insight that you would get through a tool like IntellaLease. And what it's going to enable you to do is get greater visibility into some key performance indicators, key metrics for your operation. So I asked the question, do you know today the time that it takes from the moment that you receive an application through when that decision is made? And a lot of the folks that we talk to, some of our customers and prospects, say, yeah, well, of course I know the time that it takes. I know that when Joe opens up that application, it takes him 10 minutes, and when Sally opens it, it takes her about 8 minutes on average. Well, that's not counting some of the time that it's been sitting in an inbox or sitting on the desk. And we seek to expose some of those metrics around how long it's sitting idle before it actually gets processed, and we can provide some insights into that. The cost per application we've talked about. Individual operator performance metrics can have some impacts as to how you organize your team or how you prioritize your work, or human resource implications of maybe rewarding certain performance levels, etc. And I mentioned prioritizing application processing based on maybe an SLA that you have with a program partner or certain vendors that you want to give preferential treatment to for some reason or another. Some of that can be automated as well. So how is all this done? Well, we have some slides, a progression of slides, and you can see at the top there that we've grouped the functionality of the credit application acceleration module into 5 core functionalities. Some of those core functionalities apply to the other ways to apply the technology that we'll talk about after the demo. But as you can see here, we have capture, classify, extract, integrate, and evaluate. So that first step is the capture piece, where we automatically ingest emails and attachments. So today, like I've said, if you have a application that's sitting in an inbox, it's a manual process to go into that inbox, to open it up, maybe to click and drag it into another inbox, which is part of a process that we've seen at other companies, into a personal inbox, then it gets opened. Some of that is automated. So that whole first step of just opening up an email is automated. Whether it just has information in the body of the email or attachments, as you can see in the slide. And then that next step includes classifying and indexing what the contents of the application and the email are. So in this case, we're going to split the attachments off of the email and identify the critical documents within the attachment. So we'll train the technology to identify a purchase order or an application or a sales order from an application and determine whether or not those documents are present, and like I said before, if something were missing based on your business rules, you could notify your partners or your vendors. And then once we've done that, we're going to begin interrogating that content, the email, the attachments, for data that's important for making decisions. So we'll identify which fields you want to pull from this from this content, and then integrate it into your line of business systems. Most often the case, it's going to be a lease origination system, and we're developing partnerships with several of the vendors to ensure that we can integrate this and integrate our data, the data that we capture, in a seamless way. And another feature of the integration is to leverage available data that we're able to capture from the incoming application and match it against some of those third-party applications. So as you see on the screen here, you see that we've been able to pull the dealer ABC incorporated information from either the email or the application, but we're missing their address, and we need to key that. In most circumstances, we would need to key that address in order to move forward with the application. What we're doing is, let's say you've done business with that dealer already. We're going to look at your master database, whether that's in your lease origination system or somewhere else external, and pull it into the application and do that automatically by using those lookups. So, in this case, you're able to complete those fields with no hands, as this person strangely has no hands, no fingers. Another piece of the integration functionality is that we're able to leverage RESTful API for real-time data exchange with those other line of business applications, including the lease origination system, but also CRM. So if you're using Salesforce, we can integrate with Salesforce, portfolio management system, accounting, as I mentioned earlier. We specialize in accounts payable automation, and we can deliver that data to those other departments and those other systems, impacting those workflows as well. And finally, the insights and the analytics allow you to evaluate your process and make decisions off of that data based on what's important to you and how you want to restructure, reprocess your, re-engineer your process going forward. So this is just a summary slide that kind of captures all of that capture, classify, extract, integrate, evaluate functionality. And the idea here is to expedite credit decisions, improve productivity, lower cost per application, and ultimately earn more business. So let's take a look at the interface and what that looks like. And let me pull up the screen here. And so we've outlined 3 use cases. And the first one is a touchless processing use case. So for the purposes of the demo, we're going to look at something that typically we wouldn't really have to look at because it's straight through processing. But just want to show you how that looks and begin to get familiar with the interface. So here you have our login screen. IntellaLease is browser based, so we'll go ahead and input a username and a password and get brought to our dashboard here. And you can see that there's a number of applications that are requiring review. The default status there is data validation waiting, so we have some subsequent use cases that we'll use there to address those apps, but we're going to first visit the submitted apps. And as you can see, this app has no review start time. It has never been reviewed. It hasn't been opened because we achieved straight through processing here, touchless processing, if you will. But let's take a look at what was captured. So you can see that the information is grouped as you might see it in your lease origination system. We have customer info, dealer info, equipment, guarantor, and you see those green check marks next to each of those tabs indicating that all the information that's required for your business rules has been captured. You'll also see that as we click through some of these fields that have been captured accurately based on the criteria that we've set, it also highlights those fields within the body of the email that has come through. In this case, we've leveraged that dealer lookup that I mentioned earlier. We captured the email address off of the header of the email. We can scroll and zoom into the document using the document viewer. And there you can see we've pulled M. Lewis at chucksunlimited.com. And though the dealer name and address was not included in the body of the email, we've gone out to the master database and populated those fields ready for submission for a decision automatically. Equipment fields were included in the body of the email, and again, as we scroll through, you can see that the information gets highlighted in the email as we click through. And same as in the case of the guarantor information, we've captured all of that automatically. No need to review this. It can go ahead and get submitted automatically straight to the queue for decisioning. And we'll go ahead and view the next use case, which would be an email coming in that does require validation. No attachments in this case. That'll be our third use case. You can see that it's been grouped in this data validation waiting queue. You can see the time that we received it, and we'll go ahead and see that it hasn't been reviewed yet, so we'll go ahead and review it. And in this case, it spilled over onto 2 pages. We have those 2 pages showing in the documents viewer. We can see that the company, the address has all been captured accurately. We have the green check mark on the customer info. Once again, we've leveraged that dealer lookup. We captured Karen at xyz.com, used that email appendage, or maybe you have that email address from Karen on file in your database and populated these other fields. But we see that the equipment tab has an exclamation point. And so this is going to be where we're going to want to spend our time. For the purposes of the demo, I'm showing you each of the tabs. In a production environment, you might go straight to this tab without having to spend the time to review some of that information because you're confident that it's been captured accurately. So the down payment has been missing, or was missing, or wasn't extracted properly, but you can see that it's been located there. It is in fact in the body of the email, so we can go ahead and key that in. Just looking at the viewer, we can key it in manually. And then the product model year is not included, but maybe that's not required for us to make a decision, so we can go ahead and submit that and move on. If it is a required field, then we would not permit submission unless we had that information. We'd have to go back to the vendor for that. In the third use case, we have another email. This time we have attachments on the email, so we'll see what that looks like. We know that it isn't always the case that you're going to get all the information that you need in an email, and so we have that classification piece and the splitting of the email from the attachment, and you'll see how that presents once we go ahead and review it. So we're back in that data validation queue versus submission queue. You can see here that we reviewed that last application and can measure all the different milestones of when it was received, when it was reviewed, when it was submitted, and aggregate that in reporting, which we'll take a quick look at here in a couple of minutes. So let's look at this third use case and click into edit. And once again, you can see the information grouped. You can see that we have a credit app in this case, and we're leveraging the information in the credit app versus the email to populate the fields that are required for us to make a decision. As you can see, same situation where as you click through the fields, it's going to highlight that information. So if you wanted to verify visually, you could, but we're confident that this is accurate, and so we probably wouldn't be spending the time clicking on these fields in a production environment. Same deal, once again, we're leveraging the lookup, and as you can see here, I clicked on the credit application. It was shown in the viewer, but when I clicked on that first field in the dealer lookup, it brought me to the email. So it's going to show you where, not only is it going to highlight the field when you click on that field, but it's going to bring you to the document. if it's an email, if it's a credit application, if it's a sales order, it's going to bring you to that document to show you where it has pulled the information from. Again, we're missing information in the equipment tab, and so we see here that those fields are highlighted in red, those that are missing: purchase option, requested monthly payment. We've captured all of these other fields. As you can see, as we click down through, it's going to toggle between the two documents where it found the information. And when we get down to purchase option, again, maybe that's not required for us, so we're going to skip over that field. But we do see that it's been handwritten in there that the monthly payment is $420. So we can then go ahead and key that in. And then depending on our business rules, once again, if we have all the fields we need, we're going to go ahead and submit. And if not, we would have to follow up in that case. So back on the dashboard, we have on the left-hand side, you can see that there's the dashboard option and then reports option. So we're going to jump into the reporting and operational analytics functionality of IntellaLease by clicking on that reports link and taking a quick look at some examples of what we can capture. So that might include average review time by operator. As I mentioned before, you can get individual operator statistics. You can change the date range. In this case, it's defaulting to quarterly. We can modify the defaults based on what's most important to you. We can see what the work status is, what's been finished, what's ready for review, and really get insights from receipt through submission and operational insights that we may not have access to today for that part of our process. Volume reviewed by operator, volume validated. Really, these are just some examples. There's unlimited ways that you can parse the data and present that in charts and graphs. Processing trends, we not only have the ability to show operational but also system-wide statistics. So I'll go ahead and pause that and come back to our slideshow here. And I mentioned earlier that we would look at some of the other functionality of the platform. So what is the platform? Well, IntellaLease combines state-of-the-art technologies to process critical documents faster and more efficiently, and we have some of the functionality there laid out below. The intelligent capture piece I mentioned earlier, the enterprise content management, business process automation, but the validation automation is really leveraged in this solution. The integration points with the LOS or other line of business systems, and then the operational analytics. So how else do we use the platform? Another way is document package receipt. And what that does is streamlines the process of receiving the signed doc package, classifying those documents, ensuring that all of the documentation is there, and extracting the data for faster booking and funding. Again, reducing the transaction costs associated with each transaction, and hopefully improving those margins. Like we said earlier, you could pass those savings along in rates and be competitive on that front, or invest that money into other areas of the business. So the key capabilities: we automate the email ingestion like you've seen with the credit application acceleration module. We automate the classification. So with the credit app piece, it was sales order and purchase order. Maybe this time it's Schedule A and other bank statements, what have you. Validating that the information on the bank statement matches the applicant information, etc. Streamline the data entry, of course, just like we've used in the credit application acceleration. We're leveraging that same technology to extract data and remove some of the data entry that would be required on the booking end. Enable cross-document validations to ensure that, like I said, the company name matches that on the bank statement, matches that on the application, and then seamless upload to initiate workflow processes in a lease origination system. Other modules that and needs that we've seen and that we're addressing are asset creation. So if you have invoices if you're in the mid-ticket segment of the market and you have invoices that have many line items, we can leverage the same technology to extract and validate the line item detail from those invoices to streamline asset creation. It's interesting functionality that people have expressed interest in. Escrow disbursement, so leverage the ability to extract and validate line item detail from invoices and remittances to streamline reconciliation. And then, of course, AP automation, which is a strong suit for us. We've been doing it for many years. Decrease labor in AP while accelerating funding by leveraging validated invoice header data, in this case, extracted and validated during that doc package receipt process. So hopefully I didn't move too quickly through all of that functionality, but if you do have questions, I encourage you to submit them so that we can record them and follow up. And if not, you can reach out to us via sales@mts-software.net. You can visit our website. We are also on LinkedIn and Twitter, and so if you wanted to find us there, you can as well. We look forward to hearing from you, and we encourage you to reach out with your questions. If you're interested in seeing a more personalized demo, we can arrange that as well. And I thank you again for your time today, and look forward to working with you. Thanks all.